News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Alexis Christoforous.
Alexis, the war with Iran is now into its fifth week, and there is little sign of the conflict ending anytime soon. Over the weekend, Iran-backed Houthi forces entered the fight for the first time as a U.S. amphibious assault group arrived in the region. But President Trump is insisting Iran is ready to make a deal.
We have a group, it's really a new regime. It's a new group of people that we've never dealt with before, that are acting very reasonable. It is truly regime change.
President Trump told reporters on Air Force One last night that Iran's given the U.S. most of the demands from its 15-point peace plan. At the same time, the president told the Financial Times he wants to, quote, take the oil in Iran. Bloomberg's Jumana Bersetchi has more from Dubai.
Everything on the ground is pointing to further escalation. Now, of note, Friday evening, we had the first unit of these marine expeditionary units arriving to the Middle East. That's around 3,500 troops, 2,200 Marines. Lots of questions about how they're going to be deployed, whether there will be some form of an attempt to take over Karg Island, which is what he referenced in that interview with the FT. You just spoke about that. Wall Street Journal saying that maybe they could attempt a targeted raid to extract the enriched uranium stockpile that is on Iranian territory. At this point, we don't really know, but the fact that it has arrived to the region suggests the real possibility of further military escalation.
Bloomberg's Jumana Bersetchi reports Pakistan has offered to facilitate peace talks in the coming days, but it's unclear whether either side is negotiating. Meanwhile, Iran's semi-official Tasnim news agency confirmed the death of the commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps' Navy. Israel claimed it killed Alireza Tangsiri in an airstrike last week.
The arrival of those 3,500 new U.S. forces in the Middle East was the talk of the Sunday political shows. Republican Senator James Lankford says he does not see it as a prolonged buildup.
We're not trying to be able to go in and to be able to occupy the country or to be able to have a long-standing, long-term war. No one wants to see that. So I'm looking forward to us getting this mission complete and getting out of there.
Senator James Lankford appeared on NBC's Meet the Press, but Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen says the White House is sending a mixed message.
Donald Trump said, we won this war. And so the question for President Trump, who's completely delusional, is if we won the war, why are they preparing to send thousands of more American troops into harm's way?
Senator Chris Van Hollen appeared on ABC's This Week, and you can hear This Week and Meet the Press every Sunday right here on Bloomberg Radio.
In another major development, Alexis, a Russian tanker carrying about 100,000 tons of oil has arrived in Cuba. That's according to Russia's Interfax news agency. President Trump had said he would allow the shipment for humanitarian reasons, saying, quote, they have to survive.
It's a failing country, and they're going to be next. Within a short period of time, it's going to fail. And we will be there to help it out.
The president's repeatedly threatened action against Cuba's leftist government in a near total blockade of the island's fuel and financing.
And Nathan, oil is on the rise again. Right now, Brent crude topping $115 the barrel. Brent has surged around 60% this month, and many on the street see it going even higher. This morning, analysts at Societe Generale see a growing likelihood Brent tops $150 a barrel. Rhonda Fahmy is a former U.S. Associate Deputy Energy Secretary. She says the global oil market is in for a shock as the Middle East conflict drags on.
It's been an earthquake, as we all know, in Petroleum 101 or Energy 101. When something like this happens, the global oil market is in for a shock. And I don't think anybody didn't predict that Iran has leverage, and the leverage is the Strait of Hormuz.
Former U.S. Associate Deputy Energy Secretary Rhonda Fahmy made those comments in an interview with Bloomberg Television. Julian Lee covers the oil markets for Bloomberg.
The one thing I think is undeniable is that the longer this goes on and the longer the Strait of Hormuz remains effectively closed to traffic, the more upward pressure there will be on oil prices and the more difficult it will be to see those coming down quickly.
Bloomberg oil strategist Julian Lee made the comments on Bloomberg this weekend. Catch the program Saturdays and Sundays on Bloomberg Radio at 7 a.m. Wall Street time.
As for the equity markets, Alexis, futures are higher as we kick off the trading week. The S&P 500 fell 3.4% the last two trading sessions. That's the biggest two-day decline in a year. The index is now more than 8% below its January record, and the NASDAQ 100 is now in correction territory, down 10%. Mark Lucchini is chief investment strategist at Janney Capital Management.
Right now, it seems as though equity prices are trying to probe for a bottom, which remains elusive. And at the same time, the safety that you would normally find in bond prices isn't working, obviously, because of the inflationary pressures that are being parted on yields.
Janney Capital Management's Mark Lashini, and Morgan Stanley's out with a comment on the market this morning. Strategist Mike Wilson says the S&P 500 correction is near its final stages.
And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Alexis Christoforous.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.